So I'm just going to clarify some of the facts. We don't know the age of this child, so that's contestant rate number one. The boy was rummaging through her belongings, which caused the backlash. So it wasn't like she unprovoked just stepped into a situation and called a young boy a term. It was because this boy, who some people say is as old as 10 years old, was actually stealing from her. And she said, no, that doesn't excuse, I don't condone calling people racial epithets and bad names at all. But there is a place for, I mean, there was GoFundMe allowed a campaign for the boy and his family, and it raised $350,000. So is that condoning thievery or stealing? I don't see the outrage against GoFundMe.
I don't know why, as a society, we let this small group think and guilt trip us all into believing that we had to give them extra consideration in every aspect, whether they're right or wrong. Well, Karmelo Anthony's bad behavior is being rewarded once again, and people are still in an uproar over Shiloh Hendrix and her over $700,000 now givesendgo account. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. All right, so I just came across this morning. It's from the Daily Mail, by the way, and the headline is Teen Carmelo Anthony allowed to graduate from high school while on bail for brutal stabbing. And we're going to get into the details of it, but here's what I think a lot of people are missing. And when I say this kind of thing, I want to be very clear. Just like I'm clear about the trans community when I say that I know plenty of trans people that aren't with the craziness. It's the same with black people. Right now, what's going on, and this is for every community, the stupidest of every group is right now being the loudest. And it's making it look like things are a lot worse than they are. But at the same time, because so much of this has been allowed from all parties, it really has gotten to a fever pitch. And when it comes to black people specifically, I have a lot of black people in my comments that say very what they would consider racist things if anybody said them to them. And I'm going to be honest, I'm just going right back at them. I don't care anymore. People don't understand. I am very comfortable in that space. So when they'll hit me with, well, you're just mad. No, technically, I'm not mad at all. I'm going in at you with laser focus because I'm not mad, because I'm so used to the basic things people say to me to try to hurt my feelings. And none of them do, because I've been on the internet so long and I've heard all of them over and over. And understand, I don't claim any victim status over this, but the most common one is black people telling me that I'm going to get taken back to Mexico or that I'm going to end up in El Salvador, which are both very stupid things to tell me and let me know exactly how little you know about the way citizenship works in this country. It's not based on skin color. I know that a certain amount of the black population would love to act like everything's based on skin color, and they don't understand that that's really the way they mess up, because they'll pick the worst cases. Like back when Black Lives Matter first started, there was Mike Brown, the one that just shook down a liquor store owner. And we're probably all lucky to be rid of him off of this earth, to be 100% honest. But that's the guy you pick just because he's black? Makes no sense at all. But have at it, because it is proving to be a losing strategy for you, and you refuse to accept it. And you don't realize that people like me will really, in some ways, just allow you to do it. Because yeah, every once in a while, I will try to speak up just for the good of the community, since they claim to care so much about their own. But that's not what black on black crime statistics say. But as soon as you bring that up, oh, well, why do you got to bring that up? Okay, well, why do you keep blaming everybody else when your people are the worst to your own people? But instead you want to blame the rest of us, and you want to tell me that I'm on my way back to Mexico. Here's one thing you have to understand about me. I am an American citizen, born and raised in this country. Not only born and raised in this country, born to 2 other American citizens, U.S. citizens. Let's be very clear. There's no part of me that belongs to any other country. So you may not like the things I say, but that doesn't mean I'm going anywhere. And if I were to tell you something like that, which occasionally I will, remind you, why don't you go back to Africa? If you're going to tell me that I need to go back to Mexico, why don't you go back to Africa? Because one thing you also have to know about me is that my people are indigenous to this area. So if we're going to play who has more of a claim on the land, believe me, I have more claim on this land than anybody that got shipped over to at the time do what we didn't have tractors to do. So let's be honest about that. And believe me, I could be worse. And maybe at live shows I will. Which, just to remind you guys, it's been moved to 2 shows that I'm going to be doing in LA. Because the first show, Leonardo sold it out. And so a few of my people got to get on the first show or are coming to the first show. And so they added a second show. So if anybody wants to come out to the second show, one's at 8, one's at 10:30. And the thing that you have to know is you will get show information the day of the show as far as the location. All we can say is that it's in the LA area. And that's because I say things like this. Leonardo says things that are even worse, which I love Leonardo, but she's worse than I am. And so what happens is people will try to figure out the venue she's going to be at and get it shut down. We've had Antifa show up at places before, so she just doesn't share where she's going to be until the day of the show. That way, nobody can get it canceled. So there's that. But anyway, what I was trying to get at before I ended up getting a bit sassy is that I think that the Black community is doing themselves a huge disservice, not only by trying to do the double standards on everything and making everything about race, but the way that I think they're really screwing their own over is when you have situations like this Carmelo Anthony situation, or like the situation with Shiloh Hendrix, which was the supposed 5-year-old that has turned out to be 11 from most reports I've heard, and may or may not even be autistic, and had a 350,000, I believe it was, GoFundMe put up by the NAACP, and part of it was going to a trust for the child's college, and part of it is going to raise autistic awareness. But what's happening is Black activists aren't realizing that by rewarding this bad behavior, they are making these people think that they will always get a pass, which leads them to do worse stuff, which leads to stiffer penalties, which leads to longer amounts of time in prison, which leads to less Black people on the street. So if you really love your own people the way you claim to, in my opinion, what you would do is start correcting your own. That's why I spend so much time on my channel talking about the LGBT community, because I really do care about my own community, and part of caring is actually telling people the truth, not lying to them and being like, you're fine. Actually, everything you're doing is great. No. By the way, like, comment, and subscribe. We're on our way to 100,000 subscribers. I think we just passed 81,000 today. Thank you very much. If not, we're right about to. But let's go ahead and read this article on Carmelo Anthony, and then we can talk a little bit about the Shiloh Hendrix situation. But there's really not much to talk about other than the fact that Black people are just going to have to accept that givesendgo isn't coming down. And she's at around 730-some thousand. $773,766 is what she's at as of recording this. It seems to have slowed down. I don't think she's going to make it to 1 million unless the Black activists really try to continue to push it. And then I think she will hit the $1 million mark. I kind of hope she does, just because people need to understand, you're 13% of the population. We're not going to act like you're running things. It's just not going to happen. Trans community, like 1%. Nobody is running anything. That's not the way a democracy works. Want to talk about supremacy? Check your own. So here we go. An alleged teen killer accused of stabbing a sporting rival in cold blood has been thrown another bone after being granted bail. Karmelo Anthony has now been told he can graduate from high school, Daily Mail can reveal. Frisco Independent School District's About Face deciding Anthony, 17, can graduate from Centennial High School despite his first-degree charge was confirmed by his advisor and spokesman, Dominique Alexander, to dailymail.com. The reversal is likely to be controversial. The case has become a flashpoint about race and privilege garnering national attention. Anthony is accused of stabbing Austin Metcalf, 17, in the chest after the Memorial High School student confronted Anthony about sitting under the Memorial team tent at a track meet in Frisco, Texas on April 2nd. Metcalf bled out in his twin brother's arms. Meanwhile, Anthony, who initially fled the track meet after the stabbing, later told arresting officers, "I did it," when he was taken into custody. Now he is claiming self-defense. "We are in arrangements of doing an early graduation," Alexander confirmed. They have agreed to allow him to graduate. However, Frisco ISD had initially expelled Anthony, according to Alexander, after outrage over Metcalf's killing spread like wildfire in the upscale community where both teens attended different schools. "They were literally trying to expel him, period," Alexander explained. Yeah, of course they were. This is again that idiot Dominique Alexander that's been convicted of some of the worst things and for some reason is still the spokesperson. I swear, Karmelo Anthony's parents have to be the dumbest people in the world, right next to their son. An expulsion would have automatically meant he would not graduate. Okay, well, you know what meant that Austin Metcalf automatically would not graduate? Because Carmelo Anthony was responsible for that. Alexander and the teen's parents held what turned out to be a dramatic press conference April 17th, where Metcalf's father showed up uninvited and was escorted out by police officers. Escorted out without incident, I'll add. And I saw that video that Dominique Alexander put out where he was like, he just thought he had a right to be there. Well, isn't that ironic? Because the reason this whole thing happened was because Carmelo Anthony just thought he had a right to be somewhere. So how is it Austin Metcalf's father was fine to just get up and leave, but when it comes to Carmelo Anthony, asking him to move from where he's at or to leave the area that he's in is punishable by death? During the media availability, the Anthonys claimed they were the victims of racist death threats and complained Anthony would not be able to complete his high school education. Hours after that press conference, Alexander says the school district sent word that the embattled teen and former football and track star would be allowed to graduate. However, he will not be able to participate in the May 22nd graduation ceremony or walk the stage. "We're not going to ask for accommodations. We're not asking for him to be part of any activities or anything," Anthony's fixer said. He went on to claim that Anthony had a 3.7 GPA at the time of the April 2nd high enough grades that he should still graduate even without completing any more schoolwork. Frisco ISD declined to comment, citing student privacy laws. However, the move is likely to anger many in the community. Outrage spread after the teen's bond was lowered from $1 million to $250,000, securing Anthony's release from jail. During the bond hearing, Anthony's father testified about their financial hardship since his son became a suspect. DailyMail.com exclusively reported on the $900,000 home in the gated community the Anthonys were renting while claiming to be poor. "Not good, not good. I don't think he should be out. I don't understand why he had a knife. My kids were in track. Your tent's for your school. You don't sit under another school's tent. That is not done because everyone leaves their stuff there while they're out on events," one neighbor told DailyMail.com. "Why would you someone, and now he's a few doors down? It's very scary. Like, could he rob houses? I don't know." The neighbors told Daily Mail they didn't want Anthony living in their exclusive enclave. "The best thing they can do is move," another neighbor added. "I think that would be best for everyone." Anthony, who is under house arrest, eventually did leave the house in the gated community, claiming that his address had been leaked online and he was no longer safe there. He's now serving out the rest of his house arrest at an undisclosed location. However, the suspect enjoys a great deal of support, with an online fundraiser set by his mom collecting over $500,000 so far. As of Monday afternoon, $528,382 had been donated to the family on the givesendgo platform. Memorial High School, where Metcalf would have been graduating from if he were still alive, is scheduled to hold its ceremony May 23rd. So that's that story, and I really do understand what people are saying when they say they don't feel safe with him there. And the things about them getting threats turned out to be somewhat hoaxes. Like, the police have no reports of that. And the one report that they did have turned out to be other high schoolers that were throwing water balloons and had no idea that Karmelo Anthony even lived in that neighborhood or that house. It wasn't even directed at their house. So it turned out to be nothing as far as that went, but they keep milking this like they're victims of something. And givesendgo, if you didn't hear that right at the end, which there's so many ignorant people online that are trying to argue this situation because they're upset about Shiloh Hendrix having her givesendgo and givesendgo not shutting her down. Well, when Austin Metcalf supporters were complaining about the fact that Karmelo Anthony's givesendgo should have been taken down, givesendgo didn't budge for them either. So if they're not going to budge when somebody has literally unalived somebody, but then you expect them to budge when somebody just says a word, it really makes no sense at all. And I saw the comments, because originally I did see this on the Black blogs. Like, people don't understand. I will argue on the Black blogs if I see something stupid, or I'll at least like leave a comment so they know how stupid they're being. But people don't understand. I'm not there to troll them, really. I'm there because when it's fun stuff, nothing is more fun than the comment section of the Black blog. But when it comes to matters of race, nobody is dumber than the comments of the Black blogs. It's the dumbest stuff I've ever heard. Like, they were saying that givesendgo is a white nationalist platform. Well, if givesendgo was a white nationalist platform, then why would they have allowed Karmelo Anthony to raise his $530,000 or 20-some thousand dollars if they were a white nationalist company? You're just bothered because you were trying to get it taken down, and there were a bunch of people in the comments. I don't know why people do this. And this is kind of exclusive to Black people to be like, I have a girlfriend that's on that right now, and she's getting it shut down as we speak. And then it's like, it didn't go anywhere. So how did you get it shut down, or how was she getting it shut down and it didn't get shut down? She's got friends on the back end. I know a few people on the back end. Let's all report it. Let's all mass report it. And then it's the dumbest thing ever because it doesn't do anything. And it really is, I think, the response to everybody just being over it and being, like I said, you are 13% of the population. You are not going to run everybody else. It's just not going to happen. I don't know why anybody let it happen for this long. And that's something I really do mean. I don't know why, as a society, we let this small group think and guilt trip us all into believing that we had to give them extra consideration in every aspect, whether they're right or wrong. One person commented under the post in the Black blog about Shiloh, we need to all start sticking together, whether we're right or wrong, like they do. And I commented, well, how's that any different from what you all have been doing? And then somebody responded to me with, you just wouldn't understand. To which I responded with, certain Black people are always trying to make things deeper than they are, and they're just not. Sometimes it really is about right and wrong, and I don't think a lot of people are getting that. And then somebody mentioned Ryan Hinton's father, who Ryan Hinton did something really stupid and was in a stolen car and had a pew pew. And when he jumped out of the stolen car, he still had the pew pew. The police pewed him, and now Ryan Hinton is no longer with us. So what his father did was he went ahead and ran into a sheriff's car. The sheriff ended up passing on in that situation. And now they wonder why givesendgo wouldn't allow the father to raise money for his legal defense. Because the other ones, I agree. There is a gray area. Like when the owner of givesendgo said that there are reasons to believe that Shiloh Hendrix had at least a provocation. And while he didn't agree with what she had said, there was a provocation there. And so it wasn't like she had just called anybody that word out of nowhere. To which I saw some people saying, does anybody here know any 5-year-olds? Because they will definitely go through people's... But I have nephews and nieces. I don't have kids. But I know enough about 5-year-olds to know that no, they don't just go in people's bag. My nephews and nieces from very young ages were raised to know what was and wasn't there. But for some reason, certain black people believe that we're all stupid and don't know that 5-year-olds aren't just in the habit of rifling through people's stuff and stealing people's things. That's not just a normal, oh, they're 5 years old. I mean, I can understand like a 2-year-old doing something like that, possibly a 3-year-old, especially if they just saw a toy and was like, that looks fun, and they picked it up. Like that I can see happen, and I have seen happen. But that's a lot of times when the parents teach them, that's not yours, that's not yours. I've seen those lessons taught before. I am Mexican American. Do you think I haven't grown up with nephews and nieces in the home? I was part of teaching them those lessons. Sometimes it was my stuff they were trying to go through, but I'm their uncle, so I didn't care. I definitely do. Well, I may have called them a few slurs. Depends on the day. But honestly, if they're your kids, it doesn't matter. I have a great relationship with my nephews and nieces. They're all in their 20s now, except for we have one baby. No, we have another baby coming. But yeah, but neither here nor there. But the point is, anybody that's familiar with the way that children learn and children develop knows that even by 5, they know what's theirs and what's not theirs. There's not an excuse for this child just going through this woman's stuff and possibly having stole something, or at least taken something and tried to run with it, or however it went down. And I do think it's telling that the parents of the supposed 5-year-old, they used a stock photo on the GoFundMe. Theirs was an actual GoFundMe. NAACP used a stock photo, which I don't understand why they would do that, because the 5-year-old that may or may not have actually been a 5-year-old was getting an outpouring of support and love. And the woman, Shiloh Hendrix, was the one that was getting the threats on her and her family. So I don't know why they would bother to use a stock photo. And also, if it had climbed to $350,000, why would you request, because the family requested that they take down the GoFundMe at that point, why would you request that and not let it continue to make money, not only for your son, but also for raising awareness about autism? And the reason I think that that happened was because they knew that if they continued to rake in money and it became an even bigger deal, then people might end up finding out that the child was not in fact 5 years old and may not have even been autistic. But what do I know about anything? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you want to see a video of me talking about the Soul Plane reboot that Frontier Airlines has turned into, click the video on your screen. Other than that, as always, thank you for watching. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.